At this time, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Mr. Sanjay Kadaveru, who is the president and founder of Action for India. He has his degrees from the Kellogg School of Management and IIT Kanpur. He has had over 15 years of experience in the investment and management consulting space. He is also the co-founder and board member for the Center for Healthcare Innovation in the United States. Most importantly, he is the founder and president of Action for India. Please give him a warm round of applause.
Thank you, Ranjani. A very warm welcome to you all. It was just exactly a year ago, January 21st, 2012, that we had gathered here for the inaugural session of Action for India. And in the year since the organization has been launched, we've picked up quite a bit of momentum. And yesterday at a retreat center outside of Gurgaon, the Om Shanti Retreat Center, we had a wonderful day one of programs wherein nearly 100 social innovators and influencers were present, exchanging ideas, exploring learning opportunities, and seeing in terms of how they could scale the enterprises that they're building. The origin of this forum is a brief meeting that I had with Mr. Sam Pitroda. It was nearly 2 years ago. I had gotten with me about two young individuals, and we were talking about different things. And this tells you the power of thought. Just one thought, how it could kind of result in things for the bigger and greater good of society. Interacting with these two individuals, Mr. Pitroda came with the idea that, Sanjay, bring about 100 individuals together. We don't need any high-profile speakers. Just get them to talk to each other. Most of these individuals are working in silos. They're not aware in terms of the work being done by each other. So you just get them together. These are smart people, and magic will happen once they are under one roof. So that was the inspiration behind launching this initiative. And since then, it's been a great journey. And this journey, especially in the social entrepreneurship and innovation world, is a journey that cannot happen by one individual or one organization. We wouldn't be where we are without the partnership and collaboration of several other individuals and organizations. Some of them you see listed on the backdrop, the sponsors, the partners, and some of the keynote speakers who are assembled here. But I'd like to take this opportunity to specifically mention two individuals who are with us this morning. One is Mr. Deshpande. Mr. Deshpande is a fellow IIT Madras alum, and he is the founder of the Deshpande Foundation and an advisor to President Barack Obama. And he has been generous and kind in terms of giving us his time to spend all of yesterday and most of today with us. And the wonderful things that he's done in terms of in the business world, in the not-for-profit world, trying to bring in the best practice of the business world, there couldn't be a better individual to share his insights with us. And most of you who had the fortune of attending his keynote lecture yesterday can can realize kind of the wisdom in his words. And along with Mr. Deshpande, later this morning we'll be announcing a formal memorandum of understanding with the Deshpande Foundation. And the vision that Mr. Deshpande has in setting up regional hubs of social innovation around the country, Action for India will be an able and willing partner to get his message across and set up these regional hubs around the country. Along with Mr. Deshpande, we have Mr. Shiv Khemka, the founder of the Khemka Foundation and also of the Global Educational Leadership Forum. We will also be launching an initiative with the Khemka Foundation later this morning. We're launching a social innovation think book, which gathers insights from the leading lights of the social innovation ecosystem. So we are very fortunate to have the doyens of the social innovation ecosystem partnering with us in these initiatives. And our work would also not be possible without the partners that we have assembled here, including TIE Delhi. Geetika Dayal, the executive director of TIE Delhi, is here. We've got the NASCOM Foundation, Anavent, the IIT Alumni Group, and a whole bunch of other partners who worked with us in sourcing the leading social innovators who are gathered in this room. Without their cooperation, we would not be able to kind of have this gathering and have this kind of exercise possible. So I want to just, today, due to a last-minute emergency, Mr. Pitroda had to kind of cut his schedule. Otherwise, he was going to be here with us for the major part of the day. He'll be here for the next hour or so. So I'd like to cut down my remarks, but highlight 2 or 3 different things that I'd like to share with you this morning. One is in terms of what we have accomplished in the last year, one in terms of what sets apart Action for India, and one, a few words with respect to what we plan to do in the next year. With respect to what's happened since the year that we met last January, we have been able to run the Ashoka Growth Prize Challenge. We've monitored the performance of about 100 young innovators around the country in 5 sectors: education, healthcare, energy, livelihoods, and agriculture. Just a few weeks ago, the jury of for the growth prizes, which included Mr. Deshpande, Mr. Pitroda, Mr. Anand Mahindra, and the Ashoka founder, Sushmita Ghosh, and a professor from Stanford Business School, Hayagriva Rao. We convened and we were able to select the 5 winners. We'll be announcing later this evening who the 5 winners are for the growth prize competition. That was one major achievement of the last year. And the other thing that we did late in October was we were in Silicon Valley, California. Given what you know about Silicon Valley, it's the hub of technology innovation. It has a high concentration of Indian origin, successful entrepreneurs, executives, investors. We want to leverage their insights and their resources for your benefit, to mentor you here in India, to provide financial resources, be it in terms of for the for-profit social enterprises investments or for the not-for-profit NGOs grants. But there's a lot of thirst and a lot of hunger for some of these successful Indian origin folks to connect with what's happening in India and make themselves available in any shape or form. So we launched this at the end of October. We now have a fully blown team in Silicon Valley, and we'll be announcing details in terms of how this community of the 100 networks, 100 individual social innovators can connect with them and draw upon the resources that they provide. In end of November, we had Mr. Sam Pitroda in Boston, where 100 enthusiastic students from Harvard, MIT gathered together and were inspired by his vision in terms of transforming India. And they agreed to kind of, again, be connected with the network of social entrepreneurs that Action for India represents. And we're going to draw upon the resource there as well. Mr. Deshpande is from Boston. Ranjani Saigala, one of the co-team members, is from Boston. So we plan to leverage the group in Boston for the benefit of the community. And one final thing that I want to mention about the last year, we launched a program called the Social Innovation Catalyst Program. This is basically to try to kind of leverage the diaspora. And these are individuals who are, again, successful in their respective domains. They make a financial commitment to Action for India. They make a time commitment to Action for India. And through the network of innovators that you kind of built, we match these influencers to the innovators. And we're building a community of these 100 of these mentors with 100 of the influencers. And I think that's how these pairings will see the acceleration of the work that all of you are doing. So those were the 3 initiatives that we launched last year. Just a word in terms of the current climate in the past few years. India has seen a surge in the social entrepreneurship activity. There are a lot of forums like this, and it's a good thing for the sector. The buzz helps kind of get visibility to the participants. But that I want to highlight a few areas in which Action for India is different. Again, this goes back to Mr. Sam Pitroda's vision that it is the youth of India who are going to be the foundation for making change happen. And when we met 2 years ago, he had this clear vision that whatever the new thinking that needs to come into our processes in terms of the products and solutions that are created by entrepreneurs, it's got to come from the young blood, from a new set of eyes, new perspectives. So I think one of the things that we've been emphasizing in our work is the young social innovators. These are people below 40 years of age, and it's our desire that we leverage their insights, their talents for the betterment of the country. So that's one, the focus on youth. Secondly, this is much more of an entrepreneur-centric community. There are other forums where people are trying to kind of get them more investor-friendly. They're looking at more from an investor standpoint. Very clearly, without investors, not much can happen. But this is looking more in terms of what are the needs, what are the challenges that the young innovators face. How can we kind of connect with them with the government? How can we connect with them with mentors? How can we connect them with technology resources? So I think the focus is much more on the entrepreneur and their viewpoint, their challenges. So that's second. And the third thing is that in terms of the importance that we place on leveraging the diaspora. Again, as I mentioned to you, with the activity in Silicon Valley, with the activity in Boston, that's one thing. There are a lot of these successful Indians who have done amazing things at a global scale, at a global level. And I think we'd like to channelize some of their desire, intentions, resources for the benefit of the community here. So these are three things that we'd like to kind of continue to leverage as we move forward. In terms of the next year, 2 or 3 quick things that I want to share. Immediately after my remarks, we'll be announcing a launch of the Memorandum of Understanding with the Deshpande Foundation. And just a few words about the wonderful work Mr. Deshpande has done in Hubli. He started something called the Sandbox. He promotes the work of about 60 to 80 different NGOs in 4 sectors: education, healthcare, livelihoods, agriculture. And it's some kind of a social innovation lab. It's not as much of a regional development initiative. He's doing this just because of his native place. No. He is supporting these organizations. He's monitoring closely the work of what's happening there. And then for whichever organizations are making progress is providing additional resources so they can scale to the national and international level. One quick example is an organization called Akshaya Patra. And as I mentioned to some of you yesterday, this organization began 10 years ago, feeding about 1,000 school kids in schools in and around Bangalore. Now, about 10 years later, they feed 1.3 million school kids in 20 locations around the country. It's got best practices in terms of the way they provide high-quality meals, low-cost meals, and it's a lot of automation, best practices in procurement, and transparency in which they run the organization. It's come to the attention of even President Bill Clinton, who took Deshpande to Haiti along with him so that similar kitchens could be set up when the earthquake happened there. So that's the kind of work Desh represents. He brings in the best practices of the business world into the not-for-profit world. We'd like to partner with him in terms of making available these kind of regional hubs of social innovation around the country. We'd like to reach out to high net worth individuals in India. We'd like to reach out to members from the political class, be it members of parliament, ministers, who are open and progressive to new ideas, and get them to be champions of these regional hubs. So some of the social innovators in this room can be connected to these regional hubs, and big and better things can happen as a result. So that's one going to be a key area of focus. Then we want to create a learning community with respect to the innovators that you assemble. Some of you had complained that the forum was great last year, the growth prize competition was great, but we'd like to have more continuous interaction with the group. Is there any way that you can facilitate our interactions throughout the year? That's something I'm going to focus on. And very senior business and political leaders have expressed interest in the mission of this organization, and they want to share their insights. So we're going to organize webinars, at least a few every month, so that by the end of the year, you would have the wisdom and insights shared by these influencers with you. So those are the 2 things that I'd like to mention. And as the organization progresses, I would continue to kind of build on the infrastructure that we need. We have already hired a full-time employee, Aditya Pant, who is a project manager here based in Delhi. We are going to continue to build on the partnerships that we already have in place. We're going to continue to reach out to other foundations to kind of give us the resources so that we can do justice to our mission. So having said that, I'd now like to welcome Naveen Jha from the Deshpande Foundation for a brief memorandum of understanding that we're going to sign in the presence of Sam Pitroda and Deshpande.